Welcome to Trucking Tributes. I'm your host for Trucking Tributes, Susan Patten. And today on Trucking Tributes, I'm super stoked because I am joined by our Director of Transportation at Wreaths Across America, Courtney George. And we will be, for the next half hour or so, discussing all things trucking. And by golly, I think we were like in the first quarter when we last chatted, Courtney, and now who knew? We're already looking down the barrel of, the end of July, June into July, and geez, not much longer before we're actually talking about Wreaths Across America Day. Welcome to Trucking Tributes, Courtney.
Good morning. It's great to be here, Susan. Have fun with you a little bit.
Oh, always enjoy speaking with you, Courtney, and finding out what is the latest and greatest information in the trucking industry and what's going on. And we have so much to talk about, as always, because the secret is out, Courtney George. We need trucks. We
Secret is out. We
yeah,
do need trucks.
we do. We
Um,
need we need a lot of trucks, in fact. So let's talk about that.
so this year we're looking at going up by 1 to 200,000 reads. So what that is going to equivocate down to is about 38 more deliveries. Now we are excited that we have a new hub that we have set up in Denver. So that gives us a little more flexibility and room for this upcoming year. That's something that's really new and nice. We're working on the potential for, one down in the Florida area. We're just working with their capacity, because we never know. Florida is a growing market. So we want to make sure that we're there and we can, get everyone in, get as many people helped out as possible. And that's one thing for us as we continue to grow is that we are going to continue to add those hubs. Those markets are going to shift, and that's a great thing for us because as they shift, we can deliver more reads in a more timely manner, and get them out across the country where we don't have as many issues of weather, as many issues. Weather is normally the number one issue for us. And Maine is great, but we realize every carrier can't come there. So we have an option for you. You just got to tell us what we need to make it happen, really.
And you guys are so good at that, Courtney. The transportation division, I mean, every trucking tributes, I think, without fail, I try to tip my hat to you folks because the amount of logistics and coordination is just phenomenal. And you really have done a yeoman's task in making sure that you make it workable for our carriers and our professional drivers. And as Courtney said, last year we were at 3.1 million wreaths, over 4,900 locations. And this year we're looking down at probably 5,000 locations participating throughout the country this year in 2025. So, boy, if there's ever been a year to say, hey, this is my year as a professional driver or carrier, it really should be because we are going to need that transportation, that trucking capacity. And Wreaths Across America, for those who may be unfamiliar, and we know that there are new listeners coming in all the time to Trucking Tributes that may not be familiar with how we operate. This is probably as much as a grassroots operation as you could ever have because it's patriotic Americans who step up every year and say, hey, we want to volunteer. We want to start a location in our community. And it doesn't have to be a national cemetery, veteran cemetery. It could be a local cemetery. It can be a memorial site, anywhere essentially where our U.S. military have been laid to rest or are memorialized is a location that can participate with the Wreaths Across America mission to remember, honor, and teach. And by golly, that's what's happening every year. We are growing and expanding. And that means that fresh wreath, that fresh balsam fir wreath made in Maine has to get everywhere throughout the country. We always joke on Trucking Tribute saying it's trucks, it's planes, it's automobiles, it's whatever can carry it, LNG tankers even. So we really need that carrying capacity. So Courtney, how does it work for people? I mean, we're always saying it's never too soon to reach out to you guys in the trucking division. Explain how it works and how you go about putting it all together.
So all you have to do is email in to trucking@wreathsacrossamerica.org. Tell us you're interested. We'll set up a call with you. Myself or Anna, we will set up the call with you, kind of go through some high points, send over some information, get you registered as a person. We make it really easy. I mean, we'll take it over the phone. We'll have you, if you're a tech person that wants to fill it out, then that's fine. We'll let you fill it out. Whatever is best and easiest for you is what we're going to do. And I actually, it's shocking. I've already got the open load list.
Wow, really? Are you
Yes.
are oh my goodness, that's exciting. I feel like I'm breaking news here on Trucking Tributes. Is that
This is breaking news. We have never had it this early than we've had it this year. We spent a lot of time in the off season reaching out to our carriers, to our partners, confirming their information, getting everything in, asking them about loads and sizes and things of that nature. We really we wanted to make sure we were doing it right last year. I really felt like we had some areas of opportunity on our end, making sure that we had the right contact people in the system and all of that, which is great. We've gotten that through the help of, we added somebody to our team this year, Anna LeBlanc, who has about 20 plus years or more of trucking and logistics experience. We really wanted to, you know, bring our game up, be able to make it better, make it easier, make it for the people who call in or the carriers who call in that we answer questions in a quick and timely manner. That's one thing that I always you know wanted to improve on, is to be able to talk to people more. They're calling in because they have a question.
Yep, sure, absolutely. And we're about answering those questions. And as Courtney just said, making it as easy as possible for those who participate with us. And, it's amazing because more and more of our professional drivers are making more and more drops because the mission is growing. And it's just something, it's really kind of funny, Courtney, because on Trucking Tributes, these professional drivers seem to think that I have a little pull, and they keep saying, now you make sure that you tell Courtney and Moral and Karen that I want to do this run again. I said, hey, it's out of my control, ladies and gentlemen. But
You
it's
call trucking or call me, and I
absolutely.
will work on that for you. If you talk to anybody else that's not in the trucking department, I can't make that promise for you. I will not be able to do that.
That's right. So you gotta get connected with the trucking division at Wreaths Across America to make all this happen. And so cool that we are adding another cross dock in Denver. So in case you missed that news, you do not have to transport yourself all the way to the state of Maine if that is not a convenience for you. We have cross docks throughout the country, and as Courtney just alluded to, one being added in Denver, perhaps a new hub coming up in Florida as well. So there are cross dock locations, and we have amazing partnerships for intermodal loads and all sorts of things. Courtney, can you address that a little bit about some of our partnerships that we work with some of these companies and make it happen?
Our partnerships are unparalleled to anyone else. I mean, they make it happen. They tell us what date they need to pick up which, and it's kind of like a version of Swan Lake that happens on the rail. They know exactly where it's going, where it's got to be, whether it's the Northwest, whether it's, the extreme Northwest, so Washington State, California, those that are going out to the three cross docks that we've got in Phoenix. We really have a great ability and program there. And then to be able to bring it in a little bit, we were looking for some more. Denver was a great market for us because it allows us to push up into, I don't know if you would call it the middle Northwest, but
Mhm.
all of the Dakotas, Wyoming, stuff like that. It makes it a little more palatable to get to. Um, and we just realized that people, trucking is changing, and as trucking changes, we change to meet the needs of the drivers.
That is such a valid point. Everything changes. Some folks resist change a little bit, but change is absolutely inevitable, and it's usually for the better. We all get stubborn in our old ways of dealing with things and think, well, this is the way it's got to be. But almost invariably, every time that change happens, there's usually a better benefit because of it, and things that open up and free up and so forth because of that. And our drivers are still making these incredible lifelong friendships with our volunteers, or boots on the ground, as we refer to them. And, I just finished an interview with a gentleman who he said he joked about not only being so beautifully well fed at the driver's lounge in Columbia Falls, because that particular driver had to come to Maine to pick up his load and get his run, but he was talking about along the stops. He had multiple stops, and he laughed and joked with me. He said, I must have gotten a half a dozen or so fruit baskets from all these volunteers. And it's true. And it's, as long as I've been doing trucking tributes, our drivers are telling us that the volunteers treat these professional drivers like they are kings and queens, because they know they're bringing that precious cargo of those veterans' wreaths to them so that they can be placed on the headstones of our fallen. And really, hats off to our location coordinators and volunteers across the country who have started to mimic that annual escort feel by giving their professional drivers escorts in. We laugh and say, our professional drivers actually say they like seeing all those blue lights surrounding them. And
It's
that's
the
probably
one time of the year that they love that.
exactly right. Exactly right. Courtney, what I love about the transportation division at Wreaths Across America is the other component as well, in terms of making partnerships happen, because you've always said to me there's only a couple of trucks that I can't load. One's a tanker and one is a flatbed, but we've got the relationships. It's like that song I love from the 60s or 70s. I've got a brand new pair of roller skates and you've got a brand new key. So let's get together and try
Yep.
them on to see, right? So that's what we do. I mean, you're matching people up. Explain how all that goes down.
Well, I think it's a lot of, there's not a problem. And this is what I love about the trucking and logistics industry in the world. There's no problem that's too hard to solve. We just all have to work together. And sometimes it takes sitting down, and it takes a phone call or two, and me me bouncing my head or thoughts off of one person who says, what about this? And I'm like, oh, wait. Um, we could do it this way. Or, there's so many options. And what I will say is this: I appreciate so much. I mean, we had a fleet of motorcycle trailers that were up to deliver this past year. They kept being like, Miss Courtney, do you know where I'm going? No, I don't know where you're going. I don't know where you're going until you're going to get loaded. When am I going to get loaded? Sometime today. And they had never done it, but we knew that we were running into small pockets and areas that we needed to be able to deliver to. And finding another truck at that hour was kind of difficult. And so, those men and women who came up with their motorcycle trailers that could get into different ones. I'm going to say Jerry Hayes had about 3 stops down. We stopped him in Hampton Roads, Virginia, got him reloaded. He kept on delivering down into Georgia. I mean, I mean, how many people that did that? It was unbelievable.
That just gave me goosebumps. I'm often saying, livestock trailers, you name it, if we can put a wreath box on it securely, then it can carry for it. And as we know, some of these cemeteries, some of these locations are too small to be able to handle a full-size tractor trailer. And some of the loads are a little bit smaller too, in some instances, depending upon the size of the volunteer force and what they've been able to do in terms of getting sponsored wreaths. And we really don't know right up until the last minute, pretty much, because our volunteers are just going and going and going. And, they really don't want to stop getting those wreath sponsorships because, as we've discussed so many times, Courtney, there's that famous story that our chairman of the board, Wayne Hansen, has always shared with us. And it's basically the concept of, well, what about my son? What about my daughter? What about my husband? And with new locations that are just starting out, they may not meet their goal initially that first year. So there may be headstones that are left uncovered. And because of that, our volunteers have so much heart. It is amazing to me the amount of heart that our volunteers have that want to go right up to the last minute of getting Veterans Wreath sponsored. So your trucking division may not know, just as you said, it's not a matter of, keeping secrets. It's a matter of last minute wreath sponsorships that are coming in and so forth. So that's just, it's just amazing what our trucking division does, Courtney.
They do, and I've got to give a shout out to our finance department pulling those numbers. I mean, what a lot of people don't get and go, well, you shipped the wreaths. And I'm like, yeah, but I shipped extra wreaths because the last thing I want is someone to have wanted to sponsor a wreath for their loved one and it not make a truck.
And everyone, I will attest to this, everyone at Wreaths Across America, I've already told you that our volunteers are outstanding, as is the staff, because I can't think of a person on staff that doesn't have that same exact mentality, Courtney, is that we know how important this mission is to families, and we know the impact that these veterans wreaths have, and that they're so meaningful that all of us have that mentality of if there's a will, which there is, then we will find a way to make it happen because we know of the impact. We know what it means to our Gold Star families and so forth to be able to have those veterans wreaths in a timely fashion and in good shape. And it's, let's face it, it's a live commodity. It's got to arrive there fresh and looking beautiful as they do when they are placed on the headstones of our fallen throughout this country. And it really is something. Courtney, talk about some of the different trucking shows and so forth where people can connect with you.
Absolutely. So we've got a couple that are coming up this month. We have Saturday, I will be leaving for the TCA, and that is their safety and security. Next month, we are traveling all the way down to Biloxi, Mississippi. This is a new show, which I'm kind of excited about. And the reason I say that is, the Gulf Coast area is what one of the areas that we have really spent a lot of time trying to, target. I'm pulling it up because I don't remember the names, of course, for this show.
And
But
as you are pulling it up, I'll let our listeners know you are listening to Trucking Tributes. I'm your host, Susan Patten. I'm speaking with Wreaths Across America's Director of Transportation, Courtney George. And the secret is out, folks. We need trucks. No, it's not too soon to get involved. In fact, the sooner you get involved, the better off we all are in the trucking division for our carriers and our professional drivers to know where we're headed. And Courtney already has teased us in this edition of Trucking Tributes because she says she already knows where some open loads are going to be this year. And that may be the earliest in the season that we've ever known that and had that information because God bless you all. You are getting engaged and you are reaching out now to verify your loads, verify your runs. Yeah, and maybe this year for the first time, getting involved for the first time. And don't wait and don't let any any, lingering questions in the back of your mind, delay that decision, reach out to Courtney in the trucking division and find out. We've got those answers for you. And as she says, we're going to make it as easy as possible for you to participate.
Absolutely. That's exciting. This one, it's the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show. It's July 25th and 26th down there in Biloxi. We've just got some great opportunities. The TCA Refrigerated Conference. We are excited that Serva, which is North American Van Lines and Allied Van Lines, is allowing us to participate and be a vendor at their national, kind of like their national convention, which is really a pretty big thing,
Mm.
for them to give us the time and, me the floor. And that gets me really in the heart of, the people who are making these decisions, that are helping set up the cross docks, that are helping, do all of this. I will always continue to give a shout out to our friends at Interstate Van Lines that help me when I say, who do you know in Colorado? Who do you know here? That never say no to me, that find a way, and, you know, were willing to take a chance on me when I just first started. And, they're amazing.
The
So we're thrilled.
is amazing.
Their commitment to our country as a moving and storage company, their commitment to Wreaths Across America is like none other.
Well,
Um, and I mean, just their commitment to the truck drivers, the way that they bring them in, the way that their team sweeps gets the parking lot, unloaded for them, so we can back every single driver and perfectly get there. They have food and a shower and everything, and they are making food, and they have people there 24 hours that are not there because, oh, I'm getting paid to be here. They're there because they want to be there.
that is so true, so true. And that is the sentiment with so many of our drivers and carrier companies. And, Courtney, that reminds me too that it brings up a great point for carrier companies that are thinking about getting involved. We know that so many of our companies really do have a very strong force of professional drivers who are military veterans. And they bring such a great discipline and training skills and so forth to the company. But this, we have discovered over the years, have we not, Courtney, that this involvement with Wreaths Across America is really great for companies as a way to show appreciation to their employees.
It really does. And that's what I'll say, I think, is one of the most exciting things, is watching a company get involved and watching the program take off. And I say that because, Susan, wow. I mean, just absolutely wow. The gratitude that you see in one driver's heart, how they took the story back, how their bosses are calling, how it's everyone, working together. Um, it is one driver that says, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to be an owner op, but I'm only going to do this if you let me haul my load. The thoughts of Michelle and Brian Ritter. Um, there are just so many thoughts of people that when they switch jobs want to switch to a carrier that is, involved, like a Walmart or a Tyson's. Um, you know, I get the greatest kick out of how many people loved. We sent out thank yous this year, and they were little die-cast trucks, and how many people loved those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is, it's true that story because I have had professional driver after professional driver tell me of opportunities that they have taken to another company and have actually said, I'll hire on with you, absolutely. But are you participating with Wreaths Across America? Because that's something that's near and dear to my heart, and maybe I won't hire on with you if you're not participating. Gosh, we've even had law enforcement officials do that.
Yes, absolutely.
That have changed jobs because their one agency has stopped participating or what have you, and they want participation in Wreaths Across America to be part of what it is that they do every year. And it really is an incredible retention mechanism. It's a great way to show your employees how much you care about them and to be able to let them show how much they care about their country. And what a wonderful face that is for your company represented, being represented in this organization when volunteers throughout the country see your brand on that truck coming into that cemetery or going down the highway, knowing full well that they are hauling veterans wreaths to, honor our fallen and pay that tribute. Courtney, what are we not talking about from the trucking perspective that you think is super important for you and your team and the trucking logistics operation at Wreaths Across America?
If you have a question or you want to get involved, I just need you to call me. The best time to get in all this set up is now. And I can't stress that enough because if you call me and I love everyone that calls me in December and is like, oh, I can help. And I'm like, the last truck is leaving here tomorrow. Like, I needed this help before then. And I want it now so that I can curate the experience. As many people know, I was a director of driver recruiting and experience. So I can create that first mile experience, knowing what's going to happen on the back end for those drivers. We want everyone to be able to enjoy this. And so getting that experience is so important to me. So let's get you set up. Let's get you involved.
Call now, reach out now. And let's be mindful, folks, that the truth is that, National Wreaths Across America Day in 2025 falls on December 13th. So, we really have to have our ducks in a row and know who's going where and who's taking what. Well before that, everything really ramps up well before Thanksgiving at our Drivers Lounge in Columbia Falls. If you are lucky enough to come up to Maine, we have lots in store for you in Maine. Our drivers tell us that that's one of the really fun experiences for them, being able to see the actual tip land and perhaps even place a dog tag for yourself or a loved one on the tip land, to be able to see all that, to take a tour of the museum. And the Drivers Lounge, of course, up in Maine offers every amenity that you would want or need as a professional driver. We've got showers, we've got laundry facilities, we've got 3 hots a day, coffee as much as you want or need. Not to mention the fact that is mentioned every time I do a trucking tribute show, Courtney, is the camaraderie. One gentleman laughed the other day and said, I think Wreaths Across America represents the only time and the only place in this country where you can get well over 100 drivers together all at once and nobody's complaining about anything. And
That is probably the one right statement and one right time. It is, I've been in trucking 20 years and this is the only time people are not complaining.
Yeah, yeah, because we do our best. When we hear that, gosh, you guys treat us like kings and queens, that just resonates deep in our heart and soul because that's the goal and objective. We want you to have a good time. We want you to have a memorable experience. We want you to meet the Gold Star families and the other volunteers and to be able to develop those lifelong friendships. So, Courtney George, thank you so much. I know time is getting so busy for you guys in the trucking sector already. And as you mentioned, you've got some great trucking shows coming up in the next couple of months that people can see you and come chat with you about opportunities. And we just can't thank you enough. We also want to thank the folks at Radio Nemo for having us on this morning as well, as they partner with us to get us extra ears and so forth on the mission. So we really appreciate that opportunity as well. Courtney, please stay well because it's getting busy.
Getting real busy, but we love it, and we can't thank Radio Nemo enough.